Hello and welcome back to the channel where this is part 7 of the camper build. Just a reminder, this is how it all started. This is what it used to look like. This was halfway through the rebuild. And we've come a far way already. This is what it currently looks like. I have got behind on a bit of editing. As you can see. So I'm going to jump straight into this video. And let's go from there. So we're going to start off with getting this fridge compartment sorted, and then we'll move on to the base down here, try and get the base layer all done of the camper build. So the issues I've got at the moment is this, as you can see it's all flopping around and it doesn't sit right, the heights aren't right, but this was just thrown in last minute, so I don't feel too bad. But I've got to try and space the fridge out a bit more. So I'm going to put some wood down this back here to bring it away so you can get underneath your fingers to lift the door up, the fridge door up. So I need to space it out. I need to cut a chamfer off this edge of the wood across here. So that fridge door, so this fridge door can come up nice and easy. I'm going to put a piece of wood on the bottom of here. It's going to try and run on this edge to try and hold this fridge down this side. This side there'll be a strap over, this side will be the wood holding it down. And then that will also be a rest for this. I'm going to get some sort of stopper here. And then drill a hole in the top of the wood. So when this goes down, the stopper goes into the wood and locates it, to help stop with this. And then also I'm going to try and re-secure all this in here a bit better. I can't put a panel over here because literally this is here, so I don't have the room to bring it out again to put anything in, so I've got to try and make it as strong as I can. So I've got to chamfer that, put a plate in, space it out, and I think I'm going to move on to under here. So I'm thinking I'm going to put a panel, put bolts going through this way, but I'm not going to bring it all the way to the base because I don't want it to sit in any water and rot. So I'll probably start it about here somewhere and then come up to about there, I'm thinking, and then the wood across to sit on a bit of wood like this. So it would be like this, and there'll be a bit of wood coming down, so there'll be a gap. So this is where all the seats are going to go, like your awning poles. And then I'm going to put a panel at this edge to cut this off here, and then possibly another one on that very end there. So one there and one here. So then it isolates that box, so your food's not coming down and dropping in, your heater's not getting blocked by clothes and whatnot. So it properly isolates this off. It allows this all to breathe in here with the fridge and everything, separate to all your clothes and your food and whatnot. So yeah, I'm going to start off with this, and then I'm going to see how far I get and start with that. And then I think the next process then is going to be making this unit that's going to go on this bit of wood here, because then at least I know all the base layers all done. All of this would be done then underneath. Yeah, so before I get too far ahead, I'm going to focus on this bit. Right, so I've just knocked this up out some scrap. So that is going to go on here. You need to gauge the height now. So that's going to space the fridge away. And I can glue that onto there. So I think that's going to be quite neat. So I can put the screws to the bottom, Yeah, so I'm just going to try and get the height set up now. Screw that on. That will set my distance. And then I'm going to muckle around here to reinforce this, as this here is a bit loose. So I might try and run some screws in. So I'm going to do that, and then mess around with this. Okay, so that's all spaced. I've put that underneath there and it all fitted nice. It's really tucked the fridge in nice and even now. So what I need to do now is shave the bit of wood that's going to go here, so the bit of the worktop. So I've got it all marked up. So what I'm going to do is basically take a wedge off here. So what I'm going to do is get the handsaw and handsaw till the saw touches this line and this line, all the way across loads of times. And I'm going to get a sharp chisel and just work it and take it all off. I'm going to leave this section as it is so it looks nice on the edge. So this is going to be quite time consuming, I think, but it's not going to look pretty, but it should help the fridge door just come past that gap. God, my arm nearly fell off doing all that, but it weren't too bad except from when I hit the knot and it blew the trunk out, but to be fair, it doesn't matter at all. But yeah, it's a nice little chamfer off. You can see the holes where the hinge goes on, so if anything they actually cover that, but and I just did it straight across here. But yeah, I'll go and screw it on and see how it fits. So I've just got it balancing just on one screw. You can see why I've had to do it. So now it's perfect. So I think next what I'm going to do is get the saw out, take about 1 centimetre off this edge, because what I didn't account for was the angle, how the top of the doors go in. So you struggle because it catches the door, well, the window shutters and whatnot. So I'm just going to run possibly at an angle, run a chamfer off about 1 centimetre, start from there. So from that point, leave that bit, draw an angle, run the saw down. So I just took a slither off here, about a centimetre. You can just see the original lacquer there. Nicely chamfered. That's tied it all in now. It's really made it solid. You can actually lift it up. So I don't even think I need to put a strap over it. I think that'll be fine. That's it. It does have a little bit of a wobble, but to be honest, it does help getting it in there, and it doesn't really affect it much. But yeah, and you can. It just goes a little bit snug there. If anything, it helps because it holds the. It's perfect. So other than some lacquer on the edges, a bit of sanding, that's done. So that's the fridge all done. My back is now spasmed and I'm in pain, but we shall do this bit now, I think. So I'm going to get a bit of wood to go, I think along here, and then I'll get my height, and then from there I will get this piece on. So I think that's the nicest way to do it. So yeah, get a batten on, get this bit on, get a top bit on, and then 2 L-shaped ends. So I'm going to get this batten put up on here for the top to sit on. I think I left my chairs at home, but I'm going to try and guess a height. So you can probably squeeze them about there, isn't it? So there, let's see, so about 20. So if I mark it on the very end here, 20. Probably can't see that, but I'm not going to soften the wood now then. If I try to mark it 20 at an angle, it's not going to be precise. That would be the height for where the top of the batten is going to sit. Awkward. Yeah, so now I'll put some glue on the back of here, and I'll set this onto there. That there somewhere. And then from there the wood can come across, and I can set the height on this bit here. Okay, so I've gone for a full height partitioner, let's say. So this will support this when you're sitting on it. And also I thought of having, if it was an L-shaped kind of step in here, like not having this top bit, say everything's going to slide and fall into this slot, so nice little partition between the two. So next I'm going to put one of these battens over here and then cut the base to sit in there, and then once that's in I can then cut the L-shaped panel. I'll potentially drop it all the way into there. Actually no, because that was useful, so I might just stop it here. So yeah, nice L-shaped panel there, and one there. Right, so moment of truth. Is it going to fit? I've got it ever so slightly thinner. Oh, look at that. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. You can see obviously where the wood warps a little bit on like this panel, and that one gets a little bit snugger up there, but look at that. So storage underneath, storage on the top and there, so you can see now why I need the sides to isolate that from here. So I'm just going to make a panel like this to go here and one there. So I've just made this panel, bit of a pain because you've got the angle here and the notch. So I made a template, well, I made it to fit that side, and then I brought it over here and just worked it around the brackets. Took all the fridge out. This is the nice thing about the removable base to the fridge, so you can get all in here. So you can see now this is all the open area in here, and the stuff's going to go underneath. Like I said, I might put some of the electrics on the back of this panel here underneath the fridge. And there it is, the base in there. I might put some rubber base in the bottom of these or something in the bottom, bit of lino or something. So that's that bit done. And then this side I'm just going to make another panel roughly the same as that to fit in here. you can see, it just stops everything rolling under, and I left a gap on the bottom so anything can run out if it needs to. It's not the best fit. I wasn't very happy with it, but not too bad. So I paused the video of just making identical to what I made there. Only difference is I routed the edge off. Pocket hole screws galore under here. And floor is removable, so let's see if I can get this in. All the stuff. That didn't work. There we go. So only additional thing is the wood's a little bit warped. So I might just put just a couple of little, probably 4 screws in the corners just to pin that down, but there we go, under seat storage done. So once I've screwed this down, that will be this section done. You can see the nice pass through there for seats and poles and whatnot. And show you this side again. So that's the removable panel. So yeah, nice bit of storage, isolates it all off. So I'm just going to put the base in there, put the fridge in, a couple of screws, and then I'm going to focus on this piece. So, done, finished. I'm leaving that because I like that to put the, when you take your bag out and you have the little, when you take the seat out and you have the bag, it's nice just to wedge the bag up in there. So, I'm leaving that bit. There we go. That bit, done. So now is the plan to try and do this piece, I think, next. Try and get my head around what I'm going to do. So what takes the time is the thought process in how you're going to do things and what order. So I want to make this unit up here, but before I can make this unit up here, I need to have the height that it's going to need to be. So then therefore that means this wood top needs to be on, this shelf needs to be on. So therefore that needs to be done first. Also it needs the depth away from the wood panel at the back and the right angle. And this isn't going to be as easy as the last one on the TD5 because I'm sure the bracing is different. Because this one's going to have to mount onto the rail, and that means it's going to be spaced out over the window a bit, so I'm going to have to put an end cap on there. But so there's that to think of to get the spacing for this and the angle for the cut on the back, and I need the plate on the top for the height of the unit. But then this shelf can't go on until I've done the cladding, because the strips are going to go on here. I need to be able to get the drill to screw the panels in before that wood's on. So I think I'm going to make the top and then have it removable so I can then take it out, do the cladding, and then put it back on. And then once that top's on there, on top of this rail, this wood panel will go up to it on the top. And again on this corner, so the cladding's going to be coming across, and it needs some sort of a fitting on this end for the screws to go into. So I'm going to make a panel that sits over this, and then put little wooden blocks angled for the screws to go into, so you can have a wood panel on the back, a block you can screw into the wood panel, and then you can screw into that block from the cladding. But then if the shelf's coming across into here, this wood panel can't go down to here. It's going to have to sit on the top of where the wooden shelf goes, and this panel's got to be fixed to put the cladding on before this is on. So it's all hinging now off this shelf. So I need to cut this, figure out the size to make the wood shelf, and then once that wood shelf is done, I'm then going to make this panel. It's going to be awful getting that radius and this radius. I'm going to make that panel, fix that panel on, remove the shelf, do the cladding, and then I've also got to figure out around the windows how I'm going to finish it. Instead of just having a gap, I was thinking now the easiest way is just to do a square cut on the cladding and then make an infill panel to the radius on the ends. So there's all that to do before I can then fit the shelf, so then I can fit the backboard, so then I can start measuring up for this. So it's so complicated to figure out what you have to do next in the right order, but at least I've got all this base all done. I'll just look in again. I've got to make some sort of panels to fit in here. I might make some sort of a divider maybe. Anyway, ignore that. So I'm going to make this panel. I think I've got some strips of this that we ran down. I think I'm going to use an edging strip in the middle of the birch ply to go around the end. So it's something to stop the stuff falling off the shelf and to hide where the lights are going to run. So I've got that to put in next and get that board cut. Fixings on the back, I'll take these couple of these bolts out, probably that one and possibly that one, and then possibly one up here, and then I'll fit them coach bolts all the way up and through into the wood and then cinch it all back together again. That worked quite well last time with a big repair washer cut in on the back of them. But yeah, I think the next bit's to focus on that. I think I'm going to bring it so the bit of off-cutter wood that I'm going to have the finish in, I'm going to sit flush with this here. So I'll measure back, and then the wood can actually go from there back, so when the finishing on it's nice and level. So yeah, I've got to figure that bit out now. All fun and games. This is the bit that takes the longest. It's just working it out like that. How could you possibly draw a plan for this? I don't know how you could. You'd go, oh, we're going to have the board here and that there, and we're going to use this material. How are you going to? You're not. This is why I don't really do plans. Okay, so I got this board cut. I got it cut out around here, and I cut a little slot in this end, so it fits like that. Like I said, the bolts will be going up through here to bolt it on. And I cut this deeper until I got this the right depth and perfectly leveled up. So the next plan is I might put this board in here. So what I'm going to do is put these offcuts that I used up here to hold this on this bottom bit here. So I'll put them in there and countersink the holes, like so. And then when this panel goes on, bring you in. So then when this panel goes on here, it was going to space it right up onto that seal, top and bottom. So it'd be a nice tight finish on there. So that is the next plan, is I'm going to put these on here, and then that also means that the wood doesn't sit behind, it will sit on just on the edge on top. So I'll space it up a little bit, and then we'll put a nice little finishing strip along the edges. But yeah, so I'm going to get them battens on now, get this panel cut and fitted, get that panel on with a bit of insulation at the back. Oh, I can't do that, can I? Because I can't put them on until cladding's on. I'll get that panel, I'll get these on, get that panel cut, and probably go from there and figure out what I'm doing next. I suppose once that panel's roughed on, and this is roughed on, I can actually start making this unit then. What I've done purposely as well is I'm stopping the panel here, so this brace can stay. It's a seatbelt brace, but it will just stop if it has an accident or anything, stop the panel moving so much. So that will be in the back of the unit anyway, so it doesn't really matter at all being there. I did have to finish this a bit shorter because I didn't want to cut into a brand new sheet, just to go that little bit. So again, once that unit is up here, I'll then join this top bit on there, and then the whole lot's going to have a finishing strip going around like that. So it's coming together. It's coming together. Okay, so that's all that backboard, should I call it, all sorted. Chamfered it in around the edge up there, left a bit of a gap, top and bottom, as that will be have a little bit of moulding around the edges just to finish it off. Nice and tight up against the edge, but allowing still to put some carpet around everything to finish that off. This is just temporary screwed on for now. It still needs insulation behind it, and to get access to put the coach bolts through to pin this panel down. So that's still to do, but at least now I've got the measurements, so I can either start making this unit to go in or this panel to go in. Because once these two are made, or at least once this one's made, it's time to do the roof then. Start getting all the headlighting in, all the cladding in, and then I can get that panel on and this all in. And yeah, so I think I might start making that panel now. I think I'm gonna have a look what wood I've got to see if it's easier to start doing this piece or this piece first. Okay, so I got all this bit cut out. Absolute pain to get both radiuses. Set distance from that radius to that radius, and then from that radius to that one, and around here, and oh my god, it was awful. But I've just held it up. I've marked roughly to the side where these holes should be, so fingers crossed that's going to work. Yeah, I got the angles wrong a bit, you'll see that, but I think it should be fine. I'll try to match them up. I've cut the slot off the back of here, so this panel can slide out. So I'm going to mount this properly onto here, and then this board can get slid out and back in for putting them bolts in after the cladding's in. So yeah. So there's that panel on. You can see how badly I did the angles on the radiuses. So I just matched them side to side. We'll see. If I get really annoyed, I'll have to obviously change it, but that's the best it's going to get for now. You can see I've got the panel up in there. It's going good. And then this is the offcut from the back of that cedar. So that is going to go along that edge, if I can hold it. So then, there's a lip on the back for the light to sit, and there's a lip at the top to stop stuff rolling off. So I think that's going to be quite nice. Tie everything in. And I've now just realised it's all got to come back off again. I didn't put insulation behind it. So Best do that now before I forget. So we're another week on now. Today is cladding, so I'm going to remove this panel off and get the centre strip in and then work down each side. I'm pretty sure they're all going to be the same length. I'm going to check it with this piece. I might pre-cut them all first, and then yeah, I'm just going to screw them one in each all the way across. This piece here where the wood's coming across, I've got a little batten I can attach to here, so it gives me something to screw to, and then this can go back on, be fitted. This can all be done, so this is I've got to get this roof done first so I can then carry on the build further down here. So yeah, I've got, well, getting attacked by pigeons today. They keep crapping on all the wood. I want to keep it wrapped up. But yeah, nice little setup. Cut them all down to length. And perhaps put you on time lapse and get a couple in and show you how I'm getting on. See what I mean? I think they're nesting up there. So see that all the geese. So this may look a bit ridiculous, but it works. So I've just pinned that first piece up in place. So now I can measure each side, get it all central, and get the first couple of screws in. The rest will just slot in as you go. But this first one's very important to get it dead on. So me haven't got a hand, use a trolley jack. So I've got all this board secured now, but obviously there's nowhere to secure it up this end. So this is why I use the wood board on the back there. And then I've got this wood here. So this is 21mm square, so that's this. And then that can get screwed to this surface. And then that forms a base then to screw your cladding to secure it. So it's going to be nice and easy for these straights. And then when it starts getting angled, I'll have to mark it, take the panel off, put the wood on and step it. So I've just put beaded glue across, and I can actually use my pocket hole jig screws. They're quite nice because they'd be good bite into the plywood. So yeah, and they're a nice flat head, so they'll suck the board in, and they're just about long enough. Well, it's a struggle, but it makes quite quick progress. See, I've got the insulation up behind it, so it is recycled plastic bottles instead of the horrible fiberglass stuff that's itchy. I'm not a fan of this dodo type stuff because the cheaper ones you can like pull it apart and it will come off in layers, so you can have a really thin layer where you need it, because you need the air in it. That's the, you don't really want to squish it, because obviously that fluffed up is better because there's more air trapped in it. But when you're trying to put it in there and it squishes it down, it's not as effective. But unfortunately you can't thin it, so you have to squish it up behind it. But it's better than nothing. But yeah, so I've probably, what have I got here? Another 1, 2, maybe 3 easy bits. And then that one might be a bit of a pain. And then the other last one we'll have to cut it to fit it in. So my plan here is to, oh actually I've got to cut that out of the way. But what the plan is to leave it as a straight cut there, across there, in there, and then I'll make a infill panel in each side and the top, and then I'll finish it with a nice little bit of wood edging strip. I think that's the best I can possibly do it. And then I'm gonna try and cover over these screws with the offcut from this. So anyway, so I'm going to cut some more insulation down, trim that off, cut some more boards, at least to there. So what's that going to be there? 1, 2. So cut 2 more, and then the third might have to have the bottom cut off to go around the top of that window. So I've got a few more strips in now. You see it's starting to do the corner now. So the next one I've got to cut a little slot out to start with the window. So once that one's in, bound down to about here, these will be small little single pieces, little offcuts can go in there, and then smaller bits can go in that bit there, and then that will finish it off, and then the shelf can go in. So I'll just show you here. So this is where I'm going to take the section out there. Also I messed up because I completely forgot cladding, that it only has one way. If you can see there, she got the chamfer this side. This side it's flat, I mean it's thicker this side. So this is your show face. So I've drilled like 2 or 3 of them the wrong way. Let's see it quite well there, look. So I might have scrapped 3 pieces that might screw me for finishing it today, and I hope it hasn't. So I'm just going to carry on, so I'll get this one in next. So you can see here, I'm on the little split. I'm just putting little blocks on, gluing them on, and then when the cladding goes on, you have something to screw it to. Yeah, I've got some insulation to go on here. That one, I completely forgot to do this here, so I've glued it. So once this is in, it will support that one, but hopefully the glue sets in. You can see what the cutout is. Also, B&Q Finest cladding is full of knots, so it started to crack along here and it was held on by just this. So I opened the crack up, filled it with glue on the back, and then it's sandwiched all back up again. So we have it all on now, this side. Actually I've got that little bit there, but this is on. Now I messed up with the cutting there, it's a little bit too short, but it doesn't matter because I'm putting a decorative strip over here anyway, so you won't see it. But now that that's clear, I should, as you can see, if I don't knock you over, be able to slot that in there. So there you go. And then I'm going to put a strip on the front. I purposely left a bit of a gap just to try and let a bit of air get through at the back. Trying to seal it off completely, and also I can run wiring through in there as well. Okay, so after a bit of lunch, I've just took that panel off, and I thought instead of nut and bolting it through, because now obviously I can't because I'm an idiot, what I'm going to do is I've just taken that bolt out there, that one, where's it there, and I'm just going to put some big screws, just 2, one there, one there, and then I can insulate that and put the panel back on. So I started about 11 and it's now 6. Roof's all done and insulated. I'm going to try and find a headlining for the front, and I've still got to do these little infills that go in there to seal off where the window is around the edges. What's nice is actual the groove fits on top of this channel. So that's something just to know. But yeah, so I've got a couple of strips to put in to cover the screws. This is all in. This is all in. So next I think I'm going to have a little clean up. Sand everything off with a Scotch pad. I try and oil as much as possible, especially this bit. And then get that mounted back up and pack up ready for camping next week.